Goring awakens in a concrete cell at a jail known as the Vertical Self-Management Center. It has the number 48 on its wall. There's only a bed and a basin for him to use, as well as a pit in the middle of the floor nicknamed the pit by his cellmate Trimagesi. There are hundreds of floors like theirs, each with 2 victims who use false identities issued by administration. Every day, food is lowered through the hole on a platform, and you have 2 minutes to devour as much as you can before it returns to a lower floor. The lower you are, the less likely you are to eat anything. Each month, convicts are shuffled and assigned to new floors. When Goring first sees the platform, he decides not to eat since he isn't hungry and would rather leave food for the lower tiers. Trimagesi spits on the table after eating as much as he can, knowing that the folks above undoubtedly do the same. Goring chooses to save 1 apple for later, but the compartment becomes excessively hot once the platform leaves. It turns out that storing food is illegal, therefore Goring must dispose of the apple or they will be burned to death. This reminds Goring of the interview he had before entering the facility, when he had to sign a paper admitting the fact that he won't be able to leave until the agreed-upon term was up. Goring opted to carry a book of Don Quixote with him because every prisoner is allowed to bring 1 thing with them. Goring came here on his own will and will stay for 6 months in return for an approved certificate. When the platform arrives the next day, Goring refuses to eat again, and Trimagesi believes floor 48 is a waste of his time. Trimagesi tells Goring about his experience, which began with a television commercial. He purchased an exceptional knife after seeing it on television, but only a few days later, they launched a new commercial offering an even better knife. This enraged him to the point that he seized the television and flung it out the window, killing a passerby. Trimagesi was offered the option of a psychiatric facility or the hole, and he chose the latter. He's been as low as 132, so he knows there are more floors than that since he can see them below. No food reaches the lower levels, and a month down there isn't so unpleasant. The trouble arises when 2 lower levels are obtained in a succession. Goring is terrified of this prospect and attempts to approach the inhabitants on the other floors to request that they restrict their food, but he is ignored. Trimagesi responds by pissing into the lower floor. He also admits that the thing he decided to carry with him is the knife he purchased on television. Goring eventually begins to eat the next time the platform passes by. Trimagesi says he sees a person from the top floors fall down the hole all the time, but no one does anything about it. Trimagesi informs Goring about all the levels he's seen and indicates that they'll be meeting again next month. Goring recognizes that when cellmates are swapped, they are kept together, and he eventually knows Trimagesi ate his prior cellmate when he was on the lower floors. Miharu is seated on the platform when it passes by again. Goring is concerned about her since he realizes she is hurt, but Trimagesi advises him to neglect her. Miharu visits the hole once a month to hunt for her lost kid. She also murders every cellmate she meets in order to increase her chances of being matched with her child the next month. The person they witnessed falling was most likely her victim. Trimagesi then reveals that, unlike her, he has never killed anybody and has just eaten the bodies that have fallen on his floor. When the platform advances to the next level, the convicts attempt to exploit Miharu. Goring begs them to leave her alone, but it's unnecessary since Miharu just kills them and returns to the platform. When the month is up, the inmates are put to sleep with gas and shifted around. When Goring awakens, he is bound to his bed on floor 171. Trimagesi claims that he tied Goring up because Goring is younger and stronger than Trimagesi, and Trimagesi has to defend himself. Screams may be heard from other floors, indicating that people are responding to their new levels, and when the platform arrives, there isn't even a crumb left. Trimagesi states that it is finally time for him to eat some meals after 8 days. Trimagesi uses his knife to extract some meat from Goring's thigh, but before he can consume it, the platform comes, taking Miharu with it. Miharu recalls Goring's concern for her and leaps on Trimagesi, stabbing him with his own knife. She then releases Goring and delivers him the dagger so he may finish Trimagesi off. Goring then falls asleep and awakens to find himself on the bed. Miharu has wrapped his leg with a bedsheet and is currently eating Trimagesi. She delivers Goring some meat, which he accepts after some hesitation, and she also brings him some water before departing on the platform without saying anything. Trimagesi's corpse begins to decompose after a few days, allowing Goring to feast on worms as well. Goring begins hallucinating as well, seeing Trimagesi's spirit criticize him while he eats. Gas takes over the cell at the end of the month, and Goring fantasizes about being with a woman again while Miharu observes. When he wakes up, he realizes the person licking him is a dog. Goring's new cellmate is Imagiri, the lady who interviewed him when he chose to attend this prison. She elected to bring the dog with her, and they are presently on level 33. Goring recalls the interview day and Imagiri's unnerving pauses between questions. Imagiri tells in the present that she volunteered like Goring and had no idea people perished here. As far as she knows, there are 200 levels, and when Goring explains that there isn't enough food for everyone here, Imagiri points out that the amount of food would be plenty if everyone just ate what they required. Something that generates a spontaneous sense of camaraderie is required, but Goring dismisses the concept. He wonders if the death of a kid may bring about change, but Imagiri is certain that business policy prohibits under 16s from working. Imagiri only eats what she needs when the platform sends them food, and after giving some to her dog, she begins preparing 2 rations of food. When the platform reaches the lower level, Imagiri attempts to persuade the inmates to eat the meals she prepared and to prepare 2 more for the following level in order to pass on the message. She is obviously disregarded, and Goring points out that the administration does not want solidarity to occur. Imagiri is offended that Goring thinks all administration is terrible because she worked for them without complaint, but Goring responds that being a former worker allowed her the option of picking her cellmate. Imagiri does not give up and continues to try to apportion the food every day, but she is disregarded by the lower echelons. 2 weeks later, Goring has had enough of her ranting and informs the people that if they do not follow Imagiri's instructions, he will pee on the meal every day. They'll also have to eat poop. The threat is effective, and the convicts begin relaying signals to lower levels. Later, the platform collapses, leaving an unconscious Miharu atop it. While the dog snatches some food, Goring and Imagiri place her on a bed and care for her. When the platform departs, the cell becomes terribly chilly, and Goring is forced to escape. Chase the dog to recover the food he took before they are killed for violating the rules. Goring leaves Miharu's bed and sleeps on the floor in the evening, only to wake up to discover the girls arguing. It seems out Miharu killed the dog to eat him. Miharu departs off the platform the following day. Goring informs Imagiri about Miharu's quest for her kid, but Imagiri replies that Miharu arrived alone 10 months ago. She was an actress with no family who, like Goring, volunteered to come. Imagiri brought folks down here without understanding how serious the situation was, and she's been battling cancer for 3 years. When she realized she had lost the struggle, she offered to come because she felt she might make a difference, but she no longer cares. On their final day on floor 33, Goring attempts to get Imagiri to eat something because they may not have food tomorrow, but Imagiri is too despondent to get out of bed. Goring awakens the next morning to find himself on floor 202, indicating that there are more levels than Imagiri was aware of. Such knowledge was too much for Imagiri to bear, and she ended things for herself using her bed sheets. Trimagesi's delusion arises again at that point, worrying if Goring will devour his new companion. This time he's accompanied by Imagiri and her dog, who insist on eating her corpse. Goring attempts to ignore their continual babbling by distracting himself with other activities. He cheats his stomach by devouring pages of his book, and he uses a plate shard to begin numbering the days on the wall. However, the hunger eventually becomes too much for Goring, and he begins feeding on Imagiri as Trimagesi advises him on where to cut. The next shuffle arrives, and Goring is relieved to find himself on floor 6. Miharu, the person on the other bed, comes after him with a knife, but it turns out to be a dream. Goring's new cellmate is really Bahara, who picked a rope as his equipment. Bahara is overjoyed because he believes he can climb all the way to the top from here, and he approaches the folks on level 5 for assistance. When Bahara starts climbing, the other prisoner drops her trousers and defecates on his face. Bahara, stunned and disgusted, loses the rope and falls. Goring catches him just in time, but the rope is lost in the hole. When the platform arrives, they must eat while listening to the convicts on level 5 becoming angry. Trimagesi and Imagiri's hallucinations reappear as time passes. Trimagesi feels Goring is doing well since he only has 1 month left, but Imagiri reminds him that transformation is never spontaneous. This prompts Goring to devise a strategy and approaches Bahara for assistance. They should storm the platform with any weapon they can find and ensure that food is rationed so that everyone can eat. Goring performed the math when on floor 202, and based on the time it takes the platform to move, He believes there are roughly 250 levels, which should be possible. Bahara agrees to collaborate, and they destroy a bed to use its metal parts as weapons. They both climb onto the platform and go to level 7, where Goring warns them not to let the inmates seize anything. These folks ate yesterday and will eat again tomorrow, therefore they should only start handing out food at level 50, which is where the difficulty is. Bahara hesitates since these convicts are his buddies who helped him climb up a few weeks ago, but when the old guy responds angrily, Bahara recognizes Goring's point and begins assisting him in keeping everyone away. The couple continues to descend while warning bystanders to leave the food alone. After a few more levels, Bahara is surprised to see Bram Bang, an old wise guy whom he respects. Bram Bang supports the lad's efforts, but he points out that the administration lacks a conscience and will not care if they succeed. However, the employees on level 0 may, and so they want a symbol. The panna cotta is chosen by Bahara and Goring because it is a really sumptuous dish that will make quite an impact if it comes unspoiled to the bottom. The task continues as they continue to descend, protecting the panna cotta while keeping people at bay with threats. When they reach level 50, Bahara and Goring start giving out food rations, and the populace are overjoyed. They come into a sick elderly guy and a mentally challenged youngster on level 97. Goring tries to serve the elderly man soup, but the youngster tells him not to bother since he'll murder the guy later and feast on him anyhow. The next level has simply a body on it, and Goring believes this is where Miharu awoke. Because there are no live individuals on the platform, Goring's estimations were incorrect, and there are more than 250 stories. They discover two guys assaulting Miharu on the next floor. When Goring and Bahara step in to save the girl, one of them possesses a sword and the other is large and muscular. It is incredibly difficult to protect themselves. Bahara gets his guy first and then assists Goring in killing the larger man, but it's too late for Miharu, who is already dead. Goring wants to mourn her, but Bahara draws him back onto the platform before it departs. Despite the fact that several levels only feature dead bodies, the two of them keep going down and passing out food to the captives they meet. The platform eventually comes to a halt at level 333, which appears to be the final one. They initially believe it is empty, but there is someone hiding beneath the bed, Molly, the missing toddler. Bahara and Goring approach the child, and as soon as they step off the platform, it begins to sink again. Goring requests that Bahara throw the panna cotta into the hole, but Bahara declines. To their amazement, the chamber does not become hot or cold to punish them, and after much deliberation, Bharata gives Molly the panna cotta. The three of them remain on that floor, and Goring continues to be plagued by Trimagasi, Imagiri, and now Miharu. Bharat suddenly agrees with the spirits, informing Goring that the girl is the message, and when Goring wakes up, he realizes that Bharat died as a result of his bleeding injuries. When the platform arrives again, Goring takes Molly with him, and they are dropped into floor 0, which is utterly black and vacant. Trimagasi appears to instruct Goring to leave the platform because he isn't part of the message, and they both watch the platform rise with Molly, hoping that she would show the abusers above the truth of the situation. The movie ends here. Please like and subscribe to my channel.